Great evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We have another great show in store for you guys. So our topics are going to be crisis actors, false flags, and the Mandela effect. So hopefully you guys have heard some of these things. If not, stay tuned. Perk up those ears because we're going to be getting into the depth of this. Todd, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I can't wait to hear about these topics right here. So we're going to share among some cool stuff tonight.
All right, Mr. Paul, how you doing, sir?
I'm excited, and shout out to the Dodgers. Hopefully you get that game tonight.
Oh,
You know,
season game 1?
Game 3, I believe.
Okay, game 3. Man, season already crept up.
Yeah.
He ain't no real Dodgers fan. He's just playing.
Man. All right. Crisis actors. Some conspiracy theorists argue that certain high-profile tragedies are staged using crisis actors, paid performers who simulate the roles of victims and witnesses in order to manipulate the public opinion and advance a hidden agenda. That's what this is about. This probably reminds me the most of a movie called Wag the Dog or Wag. Have you ever heard of Wag the Dog?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Wag the Dog is about a president. He's in the middle of a scandal, and then the movie is serving as a distraction to the public. And then of course there's things that happen. Crisis actors, false flags. Just to make the public believe some things going on, while all in all they're just trying to cover up a scandal. But when we start thinking about crisis actors and we think about false flags, Alex Jones comes to mind. He was one that was actually when we talk about freedom of speech, that freedom of speech came back and nipped him hard.
InfoWars.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and get into this. But before we do, let's get a couple of chimes in. What you ever heard about crisis actors?
I have. I actually saw some on the news where people were acting like they were dead in body bags a while back, and people were moving around, and I would see some people call it out. Like they will go on Twitter when Twitter was a thing. There would be guys like, "Yo, do you see this bullshit? Let's put this in slow motion. You see that guy in a body bag? You see the arms moving? Those dudes are acting like they're dead, but they're not." So I do believe that there's a thing called crisis actors.
How about you, Todd?
Well, yeah, I believe it's there's something like that out there as well too. Also, we came across before around the George Floyd era, around that time when we found out that you can have like a body double that simulates like someone in crisis on the floor. It was just crazy. Body doubles that are out there. And I'm not sitting there saying that happened, but it's possible.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Have you ever seen Craigslist ads for crisis actors? Or just maybe the meme or the story that you saw on a social media post?
Can't say that I have seen like an ad on Craigslist, but that's probably where it would be though.
Yeah, that's exactly what the point I was going to get to. I haven't specifically seen it myself where I go on Craigslist and I see it, but I've seen a screenshot. When somebody posts something about on social media about this topic, I've seen that where it shows, $14.50 an hour, for a crisis actor to do this or do that. Usually the ones that have been accused of staging these types of events, they usually will show you the Craigslist job ad for this. So just something.
So it's out there.
It's out there for sure.
So people can get hired for these events.
Yes.
To cause mass hysteria, to make it seem as if there's a crisis going on when they're really just paid actors.
So here, I didn't want to get into this right away, but why not? We're there.
Sure.
Already. We're there. Yeah, we're there.
Are they ready for it?
Yeah, let's eavesdrop.
They should be.
Okay, let's try. Let's give it a shot.
When there's a crisis, do you guys know that there's usually an exercise being ran no more than a couple blocks away?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I believe that to be true.
For most crisis events that have happened, there was little. You could always go back and find out that they were doing an exercise. Some departments were together. Some government departments got together and they performed this exercise where they needed to simulate some kind of realness and some readiness, and then of course, no more than either the next day or hours later, the real thing went down.
Wow.
I'm not sure if you guys are.
Yeah, and then everyone seems stunned that it happened. Like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And then you hear on the news, they say, oh, well, last week they were having training just for this specific purpose. They were training for this. You're like, well, I mean, and especially when it comes to sometimes these shootings.
Yeah.
Not to switch subjects, but that's what when we heard about the WTC, I just leave it at that. Remember they were doing air training and then it happened. I don't know if you remember that. But then here's another thing. When you talk about George Floyd and everybody's going crazy in Long Beach. Remember they had like these big ass things of rocks in front of the buildings?
Oh yeah, those piles of bricks. Yeah, like they were already there.
Yeah, already. Who planted them there? Who put them there?
Oh, so you saying they dropped them off trucks like somebody?
Because they wanted people to break into the, because shoes got stolen from Big Five. Like,
I'm
got looted, bro.
I'm glad you brought that up because it does play into this, and it's going to definitely play into the next part, which is false flags.
Yeah,
because that's something that you have to start to. You can't dismiss that.
Nope.
No, how do those bricks? It just didn't get busted up and fall into the street.
Somebody got clearance
on the street, not on the sidewalk, but on the street.
You needed an 18-wheeler to move that stuff too.
Yeah,
that
or
stuff
a dump truck.
Yeah,
dump truck.
Yeah.
When this actually was really good going on was when the riots. I think you called it the Floyd riots. Yeah. Out there in Oregon.
So I called it. Yeah, it was everywhere.
Yeah. All right.
I have another one too, but I'll wait.
All right, man. Well, let's get into our first question. And we'll start with Paul. If crisis actors are indeed used in psychological operations, how far are we willing to go to manipulate public opinion, and at what cost to society's trust in media and government? What do you think? How do you break that down?
Man, I think we do it in all areas of life, to be honest with you. Here's a fact. We know that the 3-letter agencies and DOD have an entertainment budget for film. So if their hands are in film, their hands are in television, their hands are in everywhere, the pot. So I think if they want to lead us into confusion mode, I think that's probably what they're doing, because there's another narrative or ulterior motive outside of that, of what they want us to see.
Yeah. T.
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely out there, because that's what they have to utilize to normalize our thought process. On a daily basis, they have to do things to control our thoughts. So if they don't have, like you said, they have a budget for it.
Yeah.
So they have a budget to kind of give you an example of what the future may look like, the way that they want to design it to show you. So that's definitely out there. The technologies for them to win, to capture the audience, to have them use it as mind control, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the government and the media is willing to go very far in manipulating the public, to participate in manipulating the public. And I think that these psychological operations are very real, and so I'm gonna just go with this first question as I agree, and I also agree that society's trust in media and government, I don't think they care anymore.
No, they're looking for things like this. They're looking for the Eavesdrop podcast to educate them the way that they should be educated, with people that have real mindsets, that want to take control of our own thoughts.
Yeah.
And we're not being controlled by others.
Yeah.
I honestly feel that, and hopefully we don't get canceled, but I honestly feel like it's for depopulation. I mean, Bill Gates said it in front of the world. Oh, we're going to do these trials on these new things. I really think that the reason why we have these crazy things is for depopulation.
I mean, when
It's crazy.
you tell someone, literally, you say, "Hey, we're gonna depopulate this, and it's gonna be better. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
better place. We're gonna in the next wave of things that may happen may be 3 or 4 times worse than what the first wave was, but we're listening to it as it's a narrative. It's as if it's a movie, right?
Not only that, Ruben, a plane went down today. Another plane killed all the passengers in like Minnesota.
Today,
Earlier today. A plane went down. A full plane went down. And air traffic controllers know what's going to happen 3 to 5 minutes before. So who's controlling the narrative? Is it the air traffic controllers? Because I don't think a pilot would want to just commit suicide. But I just think that there's a lot going on that we don't know, and it sucks because I don't know if we'll ever get a real answer unless someone speaks out for our country. I mean, Trump, I guess, is so far doing that, but we need more people like Trump, I guess.
Yeah. Second question, Todd. Do you think the widespread belief in crisis actors is a reflection of our growing distrust in institutions, or are we simply overanalyzing tragedies and have complex, genuine explanations?
no, they're doing it. They're planting seeds out there. They're doing it to create fear, to plant seeds, um, to spread false narratives. Sometimes it may be used as a political stance as well too. From my knowledge and understanding, I see that sometimes in political parties, sometimes they utilize it. So it could be used in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You know what's funny is the power of a camera, the power of a frame is pretty powerful, man, because you could grab 25 people, put them in the frame that's very ideal, it's very thought through, it's very intentional, and you can almost ready set film, and then cut after about maybe 2 minutes, and in these 2 minutes you can portray all kinds of things.
Chaos.
That is true.
Yeah.
Think about that. Remember we was watching the videos when all the weather, the fake weather news was like, it's a storm going on out here. It's a storm going on out here. And he's just in a puddle.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
The news people, I remember that.
So fake,
Yeah.
so false, man.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
Fake news.
So where could you get real news from? BBC?
No, actually, you know what? Somebody asked me that today, and I told them that. They say, "Where do you get your news from?" And it's funny. Somebody asked me that today, and my answer to them was independent journalists.
Yeah, I agree.
I do have a group, a news group that I used to go, and I used to, I still do. I chime in there in their group and get information. But they themselves have social media channels, and I follow them.
Yeah,
and then I learn about other people. So it's usually just these individuals, which I would say are independent journalists,
Yeah, I get news from Illuminati bot on X.
Yeah.
But I will say, adding to what you were saying, if you check our catalog, we went from artillery war to technology war, which was bio, and now we're in a mental warfare. So either you open a book, because I think the hidden gems and the truth are in books, or you go through the experience. But the people that aren't doing those two things are not growing.
I agree.
Definitely lost.
All right. Third question. At what point does questioning the narrative surrounding a crisis cross the line from healthy skepticism to conspiracy theory, especially when we're discussing the potential use of crisis actors? I think this is a perfect segue for me to bring up what I was going to bring up. At what point does questioning the narrative surrounding a crisis cross the line? I'm going to cross the line right now, and it's going to be Sandy Hook.
Who's Sandy Hook?
The Sandy Hook crisis, where there was a school shooting. So look at all the things with that are, and this is the one that Alex Jones got sued for.
He got sued for?
Alex Jones got sued
Did he get a cease to?
for reporting on Sandy Hook, and then he got. Actually, they're trying to close him down. Actually, that's the whole reason why he was attacked.
Did he have the information first?
No, he just questioned it.
Wow.
He just questioned the fact that what I'm about to question.
Okay.
He simply was saying that he was able to piece together that some of these parents that were crying, because of the, of the school shooting, he was able to pause it and then find another event that was a crisis as well, and say, look at this parent. Look at the hairline, look at the nose line, look at the cheek line, look at the eyes, and then look at this parent. Another crisis, another event. Similar, in other words, very similar. In other words, he was able to prove that the same lady was used as a parent in 3 different crisis events.
Oh, wow.
There's a movie, if you guys get a chance, it's called Clapper, and it's something like that, where you have these makeshift people that are in the audience clapping in Hollywood, sitcoms and stories and shows. And so, who is it? Tracy Morgan and someone else. They get paid to go out there and clap. Like, yeah.
Oh, I used to do that.
Yeah. on TV shows.
Yo, standing room only.
Yeah,
That's the company that I used to hire us to do.
And you used to go get paid, like, hey,
bro.
I asked the question.
That's
the question. I
facts.
get paid more.
So the Jerry Springer shows, that's what they did. In The
That's
View,
crazy.
like, you would go get paid. It wasn't crazy.
So
paid.
yes, it's true.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man. So in other words, he went out of his way to put together an entire documentary proving crisis actors appearing in other events, playing the role of a victim or something. He actually also found kids that were supposedly, victims in that shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Years later, under a different alias, this is the individual. So in other words, this is the point. This is the point where it crosses the line. It's when
I agree.
It's when did a crisis really occur, or did a crisis, was it staged? And then when it's staged and you want to critique it, you're insensitive to the reality of it, and then now you're caught, in a pickle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In an age of fake news and deep fakes, and then if you guys don't know what a deep fake is, a deep fake is an AI. You know how they have, oh, that's AI, that's a fake video, that's an AI video. Well, deep fake comes from, stuff it's so outlandish that it had to have come from the deep web or from the dark web, and that's what a deep fake is. So in the age of fake news and deep fakes, could the idea of crisis actors be less of a conspiracy theory and more of an inevitable result of a media landscape driven by manipulation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the people that don't know, they don't know. That's why you need your Alex Jones and your Joe Rogans to talk about these things, because these people are enlightening us and they know how to look for key factors in deep fake and fake news, and they can gouge at it and say, hey, this isn't official news. This is crisis actors, or whatever the case may be.
Because if we didn't know any better, we would just be fed the lies that we do right now from the mainstream media. This number, that number, this number, that number. The 5 stations that we have right now, owned by probably one main media source. They can feed us whatever they want to at any time.
That's right.
At any given time, they can feed us whatever news that they want to, and we can do nothing about it but believe them. Especially because you have these older grandmothers, you have older elderly people, and they're locked into their newspapers. They're locked into the old way of looking at news, and so for them, they can be fooled by a lot of those fakes.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That goes back to the left conversation we had, how they control the narrative, the left impact.
Yeah. So Could the idea of crisis actors be less of a conspiracy theory and more of an inevitable result of the media landscape driven by manipulation? Absolutely. It's exactly that. I think in an age of fake news and deepfakes, this crisis actors conversation fits right in. Just fits right in. If the use of crisis actors is ever proven to be part of a larger government agenda, how would that shift the way we view past tragedies? Would it change our sense of trust in the system?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We would be non-trusting of a lot of the things that we've seen, from, I don't know. I mean, I guess, well, the Rodney King beating was kind of real. That was real deal.
Yeah, I think that was real.
Because that was
Yeah,
that was on a VHS.
Yeah,
So that was
riots.
real.
That was a real riot.
That was a real.
That was no.
No, that was not a fake one right there. That was a real. And those people, those Koreans were not playing around in LA about their stores either.
Yeah, that's
They were
true.
shooting real bullets.
Wasn't there one person that stood in front of a tank?
Probably so.
That was a
That-
world. It was a different
that
war,
was-
though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we would stop looking at the news the way that we have consumed it.
Yeah.
We would have to find a different medium. We'd have to find a different channel. As you said, try to find better resourceful knowledge, to study for ourselves, to get the real information to share. So, because if we continuously get fed the narratives that we've been getting fed, then yeah, they can have all these crisis actors all day long, and we'll be watching movie after movie after movie, upon commercial upon what is it, these ads that we see all day long, prescription ads all day long. The prescription ads have taken over the alcohol ads that they used to have and the cigarette ads. So now that's a narrative to me. I mean, look how many different things are going on inside of one of those commercials.
I think for sure it would change our sense of the trust that we have in the system that claims to protect us. I think that in COVID showed their fear. That it showed the fear that they have of the public waking up. Had the public awakened more, they would still be getting away with it.
Yep.
The public was waking up and starting to question everything. And that was their worst nightmare. The minute that they do find out, which is going to lead us into our next topic, which is false flags. The minute the majority of the public starts figuring out how often false flags occur, that belief in the government is going to end up spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
Part 2, guys, false flags. According to some, false flag operations are staged attacks or events orchestrated by the government or the shadow groups designed to incite public fear, justify military action, or shift political power under the guise of an external threat. The last time I'm not sure who said this, but, folks that are out in the audience right now, you guys take this statement, look it up, even just take some key words out of there. But somebody said, never let a good crisis go to waste, because you can do things then that you couldn't do things without the crisis. Somebody said that, and they said it, they're a part of government who said that. And that's so true, because
That's deep.
you never let a
deep.
good crisis go to waste.
Yeah, no,
Because
that's true.
It's the only time that you can do something that you could not do or get away with.
Get away, yeah.
There's a 4-letter agency that's always on the scene months before an actual event happens.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
With F.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
I know you're talking about.
So they're always on the scene because they're always on the scene before something happens. How? How are they always on the scene before something super tragic happens?
They must be the ones creating the propaganda.
staging a false flag. All right, so let's get into these questions, guys. Staging a false flag. The reason why you would want to do something like that, I'm going to just repeat the definition, is to incite public fear. would be to justify military action, to shift political power under the guise of an external threat. You know what they say? They say that 9/11 operated like a false flag because after 9/11, we ended up getting hit with a bunch of civil right violations. Our civil rights were violated left and right as soon as that happened. And they said that they did that on purpose. In other words, even COVID, even you never let a good crisis go to waste.
No, not at all. All the way to the last shot.
To the last shot. Yeah. So question number 1. We'll start with Paul. Is it possible that false flag events are orchestrated as part of a broader strategy to manipulate public opinion? Or are they just a convenient explanation for tragic events that the public can't understand?
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on both. There is the public that will never understand because they don't care to understand. And then you have the fear because people play into CNN, Fox 11, they listen to the news, they wake up and turn the news on because they think that by them listening to it, they're gaining information. Even if the information is false flag or real, it still creates fear. So I think that the main initiative there for the people in power is to create fear so they can dictate and control us. Such as the 9/11, you do the research, there was bombs wrapped around that. And now we're starting to hear on the COVID thing, people that got the jab, they were supposed to pass away because they did it on animals, and animals pass away instantly. And you can research this right now. So if you're watching, go do your due diligence and check it out. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Todd, is it possible that false flag events are orchestrated as part of a broader strategy to manipulate public opinion, or are they just convenient explanation?
They're definitely orchestrated. There's a lot of truth to what he said. When we woke up the morning of 9/11, I still remember waking up that morning.
Me too.
And, my ex-wife, I was getting out of bed and I seen, some smoke on the TV because every morning I was being consumed with the news.
Yep.
And I would take that narrative of the first hour that I had of the day, and I would take that with me as truth. And I would come out there and tell you, hey man, did you see this?
Well, let me ask you that. Did you live in fear though? Were you kind of fearful when you saw the news and you saw something going on?
Oh, absolutely. Right when you seen that, it was something that, and my drive was from Ontario to Chino Hills at the time. And it was a feeling of like, man, something's different. I just seen something that I never thought that I would see on TV. Didn't know if it was really real because it was something that you seen on TV, but you just seen the aftershock, the aftermath, and the compassion that people was pouring into one another made it seem like it was a real narrative, but there was a lot of false narrative behind that, So, in which we later found out that we utilized, our weapons against other countries to do things to gain certain, power.
I think it was planned.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Rube?
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So is it possible that false flag events are orchestrated as part of a broader strategy? Yes, I totally believe that it plays into the large plan of keeping the public scared.
Yeah.
So keeping the public scared is a big plan, and this is part of it right here. It's part of that strategy.
Let me ask you, would you think that this falls into any one of the 48 laws of power?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny that you said that.
I agree.
I would say that there's probably a handful of 48 laws of power principles that would probably fall right into a false flag or a government type of control type situation.
And not for the good, right? For the
bad.
For the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good book, 48 Laws of Power. You guys need to read it.
All right. Do you think the media, and this will go to Todd, do you think the mainstream media plays a role in amplifying false flag theories, or do they just report what's already out there?
It's a little bit of both. There's a little bit of both going on because they are so programmed. They're depressed. The people that are on the news, they're depressed a lot. You can see it in their face when they're up there. There's no more excitement. When they first get on the news, they're all excited and happy. But after being forced to say this particular narrative day after day after day after day, we're not even watching a person anymore. We're watching actually someone that's dehumanized.
He's a bot.
A bot, someone that's reading things on the teleprompter. You've seen people say things. They were like, oh, they say all kind of crazy stuff, and that they have to say, oh no, you didn't say that, or whatever.
That's good.
Cuss words or bad words, but yeah, they're being programmed. So they're definitely programmed bots that are out there just giving us this false narrative all day long.
Yep. All right, and I'm gonna have to jump on that bandwagon there. Do I think the mainstream media plays a role in amplifying false flag theories? Yes, I do. Project Mockingbird is in full effect. I believe that the majority of the journalists work for 3-letter agencies.
Yeah.
And they're out there against us. They're out there making sure that they're contributing to making sure that the mainstream narrative is being pushed. And that is the only reason why they exist.
This is what I do know. There's a totem pole for reporters. So I feel that there are reporters out there that create the story. They have to write and they have to film it. They have a team. And then I think when you're in the studios, I think that the story has already been created. It's in essence, it's already scripted. It's already been written by someone else. So like, for instance, Jim Hill. You guys remember Jim Hill?
Oh yeah.
I think that he's reading off a teleprompter like the Jerry Springer show. I think these stories have already been delegated to them and they just got to read it and make it make sense. Whereas reporters out in the field, they have to create the script and then report. I could be wrong.
Or folks like Ruben, you got to really, like you say, do your study on the independent researchers who's been doing their job for a long time, reporting independent news. So getting that type of quality information, especially if you can vet that person and where they came from, where they've gotten their education, making sure they don't have any strong political ties either which way, but is reporting clean, fair information. Facts. That's who you want to support.
Yeah.
So like regular mainstream media, I wouldn't want to support that.
I got you. Yeah. Did I answer your question at all? Or?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So question number 3. When we see public panic around major events, is it the result of government agenda or just natural consequences of the media landscape? No. I think every single time there's a panic event that is worthy of being televised, it's going to be televised because the government has an agenda. I think out of 100% of things being spontaneous is a fantasy. I don't think there's anything spontaneous. I think 100% of what we watch is predictable and thought out.
Let me play devil's advocate with both of you guys. I don't know if you guys been paying attention to the news or going on TikTok or Instagram, but recently there was an earthquake in Singapore.
Yeah, Thailand or something like that.
Thailand? Yeah. And I've seen videos of a guy saying that when we have earthquakes, it's by design. Now, I don't know what that situation is, but like what you're saying, like, we don't know if this was natural cause or if this was a cause by something, technology that we have. So how do we delegate, or will someone try to put forth the efforts to research if that earthquake was in fact controlled or was it a natural disaster?
Well, that introduces HAARP. 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 So HAARP is a military weapon that's been around for at least 50 years, 60 years.
Isn't that what created the tsunami?
And that's the thing is what it does is it sends frequencies through dirt, through water, through mountain, through, rock. And so what it does is you aim it. You aim that machine through a mountain or towards a fault line, it'll trigger an earthquake. You trigger it, you aim it towards the ocean and you blast it at some waves, it'll make that wave into a mega wave. You blast it into the sky and you blast it towards clouds. All of a sudden that cloud is active and probably wants to give rain. But it's called HARP. So
Now they can look this up
they
online.
can look it up
Yeah,
online.
I've heard about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So what you're talking about reminds me of that.
Yeah.
They're using this type of clandestine equipment,
Yeah.
to
Which all goes back to the news control, media, fear. Is there a bigger purpose?
Yeah, my answer to that would be, and it's just pretty simple. You guys wrapped it up. If it bleeds, it leads. If it bleeds, it leads. And that's especially when it comes to the news. You never seen the nice news at the very beginning. The very beginning is either, especially in Southern California, you're gonna have a foot chase, someone getting chased in the streets with a cop. You're gonna the first. Okay, we're gonna take you right to the news right now, Jim. What you got right now, Jim? We're over right now. We're over the 101 freeway, and we're chasing these guys down now. And then so then now the reporters are okay. Cool. Shit, let me sit back. Okay, great. What do you got? They're like, because now they have a story that's really bloody at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And we want to see what happens. Us as consumers of news, we want to see like, oh man, is he gonna crash? Is he gonna get shot? Oh man, if it bleeds, it leads. That's all I can say.
Yeah. You guys saw that high speed truck in LA.
Really?
The big truck? You didn't see the big old white truck?
No.
Bro, it was running the cars.
Oh,
it
wow.
crashed into like a restaurant. This happened too. This happened recently too, like maybe a few days ago.
Wow.
You
You better fact check this guy.
Yeah, they know.
Fact this guy.
I want to say it was during one of those basketball games. I'm looking at a big old white big rig truck, just not an 18-wheeler, but like a construction worker truck, just ramming through cars, almost hit someone and flies right into a restaurant.
Oh,
I don't know if it was Whittier or something, but it was somewhere in LA though. But you guys fact check me though. Comment.
Man, oh man.
Drop those
All right.
comments.
Does the public's growing distrust in government and media make it easier for false flag theories to gain traction?
Yeah. I'd say no. It just depends on what's happening. Like these planes that are crashing. I think people are gonna be like, nah, I don't buy it. There's too much technology and security to be floating around for us to hop in a plane. And you're telling me these planes are just dropping like flies. So I don't think people are buying that per se. But now this earthquake thing, I think people might be buying it because they don't know about HARP. And they are gonna think it's a natural disaster.
You know what's funny about the planes? I'm gonna make a comment about planes. They said that the planes is one of the safest
forms of travel.
Safer than a car.
It's one of the safest forms of travel. And they said that the majority of accidents is on purpose.
I believe that. Just like the helicopter flying into the plane. Like, come on. That doesn't make sense. There's air traffic controllers for each vessel that's in the air. There's an air traffic controller telling them where to fly, how to fly. Yeah. There's security through the air. You can't just fly anywhere. You got to get
now
passage.
This actually will be a great comment right here, to add to our topic. We're talking about false flags.
Yeah.
So every single time that there's a false flag, well, every single time there's a shooting, they will use the shooting to go ahead and sensationalize it with the media. If there's any victims, make sure that the victims are right in front of the camera as well, crying and all that. And then the politicians follow closely behind with chanting of a new law or a new policy. So every single time that it's either a school shooting, a mass shooting, or some kind of airplane going down, or it's always a crisis, so that they could then kind of rub their hands together and lick their lips and say to themselves, hey man, how are we going to twist this for our advantage?
So you're saying for every current event, that we hear that's kind of catastrophic or minor, they're able to now box us in even more.
Correct. That's how they do it.
Yeah.
And do you think that those were predestined events and they've already had those boxes checked off before those events happened?
That's
Wow.
that's the conspiracy.
Wow.
That's the
Hey,
conspiracy.
what do you guys think? Let us know if you guys are eavesdropping. Drop those comments and share this video.
All right, Big Todd. If false flags are real, how do we differentiate between genuine government manipulation and the natural tendency of humans to question everything?
Do your homework, do your research, do your own independent studies in information that you receive. You know, take a deeper dive into the information that you receive versus just taking it from face value. Do a deeper dive into research. They have AI. You can actually question AI. You do a great job of questioning AI. So the things that you get, if you're going to fact check through AI and make sure that you question AI's interpretation of it as well too, until you get what is settled for your heart. But just being able to do your research and study the things that you want to know versus just being dealt any information.
I agree. So I'll take a shot at the question. If false flags are real, how do we differentiate between genuine government manipulation and the natural tendency of humans? Yeah. The only thing that is going to solve this problem is taking your truth into your own hands and not necessarily relying for a news agency to interpret truth for you. You should take truth into your own hands and start interpreting it for yourself. All right, leads us into our third topic, the Mandela effect. For those who don't know what the Mandela effect is, at its core, the Mandela effect is about false collective memories that people vividly recall events or facts a certain way to only find out that there's an officially a different way or then what makes it intriguing is that these memories are often shared by thousands or even millions of people. So some examples of that would be who it's named after, Nelson Mandela. He was remembered. There was a lot of people, thousands of people, maybe even millions of people that can remember that he died in prison. You know, and there's a lot of people make an argument that he died in prison. And he died in the 80s. However, the official story is that he died in 2013 after serving as president. So that's just an example where you have thousands of people who say, I remember him dying in prison in the 80s. And then you have millions of people saying no. And then the official version is that he died after 2013. And then there's even ones like Berenstain Bears. So if you guys remember that cartoon book, the Berenstain Bears, is it Stein or is it Stain? So Stain or Steen?
What are we doing here? What are you talking about?
Huh?
The Bernstein Bears?
Yeah.
Okay, I got
Yeah.
you.
So who do you think?
It's the Bernstein, right?
Well, I don't know.
That's a Nelson Mandela effect.
Is it Bernstein or Bernstein?
Well, it will be Bernstein or Bernstein.
Okay. Well, just so you know, most people remember the Bernstein or the Bernstein Bears with an E.
Yeah.
But that's not how it is. Officially, it's with an A.
Yeah, that's crazy how you're bringing that up. But I'll touch on it when you're
I
done.
didn't know that.
Oh, so you thought it was EIN or either EIN or IEN.
Yeah.
Got your ass.
Then now that you found out that it's an A, how do you feel about that? Do you feel you were always wrong, or how you feel you've been wrong for years?
You done fucked up.
Well, no, not really, because I didn't get straight A's when I was little, so no, that would have been natural to me. So
Okay, all right.
I wasn't a wizard.
You know you done fucked up.
So here's another one.
Exactly.
Luke, I am your father. So that comes from the movie Star Wars. So the argument is that most people remember, Luke, I am your father. What the official version is that no, I am your father.
That's
That's-
the official.
that's-
That's the official version.
That's the Jerry Springer version.
Yeah.
That's the official version.
The official
No,
is
I am your father.
No, I am your
But
father.
everybody says I am Luke. I am your father though.
Everybody thought that it was Luke.
Oh wow.
This is the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
It's the Mandela effect.
But it could be done on symbols too, like Fruit of the Loom, Captain Crunch, Mobile, because you'll look at these two symbols.
Yeah, no, I got the next one. So
It's
Monopoly.
not Captain, it's Cap in.
yeah.
Remember Monopoly, man? You know
Yeah.
how he's got the monocle
Yeah, the guy behind you.
with
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember? Did he have it or did he not have it?
The Monopoly guy?
I want to say he had it.
Wait, he's right behind you.
Yeah, he's behind you, Rue.
Well, does he have it?
Not in that
Right
one.
now.
So the Monopoly man has one.
Yeah. On his right eye, right?
That's what was what most people remember. But the actuality is that he doesn't have one.
Oh shoot.
So he doesn't have one.
No.
So do you ever remember him having one?
Yeah, the commercial.
Okay, he's never had one.
Not
That's
even the
crazy.
commercial?
That's yeah, I thought he had one.
All right. Here's another one. Fruit of the Looms.
Okay.
So you remember the Fruit of the Looms? Was it the fruits, just the fruits, or was the fruits inside of a fruit basket?
I think the fruits
The
were
fruits in the basket.
No,
No, it was just fruit, huh?
it was just fruit. Now why are you so wrong about these?
I don't know.
Because you in your mind you're like, I remember like that though.
Well, it's just,
You remember a basket,
I thought it was in a little
I
basket.
could have sworn
I
there
thought
was
it
a
little
basket.
I thought
Yeah.
it was a little basket. Like,
and then you think that you saw this guy's
With the eyeglass.
on the commercials.
That's crazy.
All right, how about Pikachu? You know the Pikachus. You know the little
Yellow things?
yellow things. Did he have a tail or not?
I remember a long ass tail. It looked like a Z.
No black tip on tail.
What?
you said a tail, now you said a black tip. Which one?
He said no black tip on the tail. I remember a tail though.
All right, how about Kit Kat? Kit Kat, the logo.
Love it.
All right, does Kit Kat have a dash?
No dash. I've ate a lot of chocolates. Ain't got no dash.
Okay, no dash on Kit Kat.
Right,
But
see.
He said I'm around the
People
corner.
that
I'm around the
shit.
corner from being a diabetic.
I know that shit.
hey, but
Ain't
people will
no
argue.
dash in my kid.
People will argue that there was a dash.
Really?
Millions.
because the way they spell Kit Kat, right?
Yeah.
All right, Febreze, 2 E's or 1?
2 E's,
Two.
right?
I done spent enough money.
Febreze is only with 1 E.
Damn.
No, I've been getting the bootlegs. Where the fuck am I getting my shit from, man?
Oscar Mayer or Oscar Mayer?
Oscar Mayer, right?
Meyer.
With what? The A or the E?
E.
Don't you remember seeing that big old?
So you think it's E?
We done ate a whole bunch of them.
You think it's E?
What's my other option?
It's A or E. Mayer or Mayer?
A.
It's Oscar Mayer with an A.
Damn.
Wow.
So
I
you
do
always
remember that whip driving around though.
You
You know
always
what it
thought it was
is?
with E.
You know what it is? It's all that goddamn processed food we eating.
Human flesh in the dog.
Curious George. Does he have a tail or no tail?
Damn.
No tail.
No tail.
No tail.
Sinbad.
Damn.
Did he make a movie called Shazam?
Yes. Rest in peace.
Sinbad.
Rest in peace, Sinbad.
No.
A genie movie.
Yeah, he
That
did,
was-
bro.
That was Shaq.
No, so did he did. He did too, right?
I thought Sinbad did.
He did it.
No, he didn't.
No.
It was Shaq.
All right. C3PO, the Star Wars, that droid, the gold droid. Does he have a silver leg or is he all gold?
All gold.
I think he had a silver leg, bro.
Yeah, he's not all gold. He has a
He
silver
was
leg.
handicapped.
Oh, really?
He had a prosthesis.
He said, bzz, 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 bzz.
All right. Looney Tunes or Looney Tunes? So TOON or TUN?
I grew up to that, so I'm gonna say TOO.
We'll go with TOO.
No.
Damn.
Oh, it's like tunes?
Looney Tunes. Like
Dun,
tunes.
dun, 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 dun,
Damn.
dun, 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 dun,
I grew up to
dun.
that.
That's all.
The movie Interview with the Vampire. Is it Interview with a Vampire or Interview with the Vampire?
You tell us, audience, which one you think it is. You 3
Comment
seconds.
below.
Interview with a Vampire or Interview with the Vampire?
With a vampire.
Yeah, I agree.
No,
Damn.
it's Interview with the Vampire.
Sheesh.
So now you've gotten a lot wrong.
Sure.
Now,
Why is that?
yeah. So we're talking the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is people remember things, and they're in the groups with millions of other people that remember these things is the same way.
Yep.
So you're saying our visual memory isn't that good?
So I don't know. Okay, here's another one.
Memory retention.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, or is it magic mirror on the wall?
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is the top dog of the
No.
wall?
Shout out Snoop.
It's magic mirror on the wall.
Damn.
This shit made me cry.
Yeah, my man over here sweating.
Oh, shit.
Why do some people clearly remember alternative versions of events while others have no memory of them at all?
Because each person has their own recollection of their own picture. You have your own camera, per se, in your mind. And your vision is as strong as you see it. So if I was to tell you a version of my story, you only have a blank canvas and I have the paint to show you what it is. So like basically you only can get a visual of so much information that I have. So if I'm telling you a story, you're only going to take a certain portion of it. In my mind, it could be way outlandish story.
So your explanation of that right now is helping you make sense of some of these Mandela things that you were wrong on?
Yeah, because if you think about it, like if you think about how much you've looked at TV, we weren't really paying attention to a whole bunch of stuff. We weren't paying attention to all of the small integral things on the spelling. We may have been like Looney Tunes, right? Like you said, 2 O's, right?
Yeah.
But if you really think about Looney Tunes, it's the Looney Tunes, the sounds of the song that's being played before the cartoons. So
He still remembers that, but not me too.
Right? So if you think about the Looney Tunes within that song, it has 2 or 3 different songs. When you heard that song when you were little, your ass was running around the house. Happy, right?
That is DuckTales.
Yeah, right? You was happy when you heard that song, and then at the end of the cartoon, they played the song again. So like you knew the tunes, but we weren't really into spelling at that time. Like I said, we was probably drinking Tang and eating
Kool-Aid
and eating all the wrong foods.
Pop-Tarts.
Yeah. Was not paying attention to that.
Cheetos and chips.
Which one got you the most? Out of all these Mandelas, which one got you the most?
Probably Looney Tunes.
The Looney Tunes?
Because I'm like, man, I mean, that's our favorite cartoons, like you said.
Yeah, that got me too. Looney Tunes.
Really?
I grew up to that. So I thought I would have had that.
Could false memories and collective misremembering be a natural survival mechanism, or is it evidence of something more mysterious?
Both. I think the evidence is subconscious, what they're portraying to you, but you're not really paying attention to that. Like the whole Disney stuff. They say that the Disney stuff's like they're taking it too far with their cartoons. I'm not going to get into it, but for those of you know. And then on the other side, what was the first part of that question? So I can answer it.
Could false memories and collective misremembering be a natural survival mechanism?
Collective misremembering means that, we'll watch a cartoon, there's so much going on. We'll choose a character. We'll love it so much that we don't care about anything else. We just focus in on that character. So we don't care about the actual full cartoon. We may have like a favorite character, like, I don't know, one of the characters in the Looney Tunes, like, and we don't care about anything else. So we resonate with that, and all the other stuff doesn't matter. So then we're going to forget, if that makes sense.
Got you. You've heard of the Mandela effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you're wrong, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like, man,
Like,
maybe,
oh shit, maybe I wasn't paying attention.
you fall into that.
Yeah, I do fall into
You
that.
give in and you're like, all right,
Oh, yeah.
maybe it was me.
I'll take accountability. Yeah.
Not that there's something bigger going on.
Oh, there could be something bigger going on.
Okay.
But I'll take accountability if I'm wrong. Like, but yeah,
Yeah, you got to take accountability if
Yeah.
you're wrong, but there is underlying programming
yeah.
to a lot of things.
Well, yeah.
Think about liquid death.
Well, right.
Just say the words liquid death. Those two things.
Yeah, why am
shouldn't
I-
be in a water? Right.
Yeah, why am I drinking that?
Yeah. Well, if you really tested the water, you would know.
Or Monster.
Yeah, and they're speaking death in the water.
Or Monster.
Or Monster.
The three.
If the Mandela effect is real, what do you think triggered the first noticeable timeline shift? All right. That's an interesting question because there needs to be some explanation behind that. So one of the things that people use to explain the Mandela effect is that we exist on multiple timelines. And so basically when you remember seeing a certain version of something, you were on one timeline, and over the years you've shifted to a different timeline, and now when you see it, it seems different to you. That's an attempt at explaining the Mandela effect to people. Others, it's just mass misremembering versus mass remembering, where you have two groups of people where they're in the millions or they're in the hundreds of thousands, and they're just recollecting what their experiences. If the Mandela effect is real, what do you think triggered the first noticeable timeline shift? Man, I don't necessarily know if this is a timeline shift reality, but if we are going to go down that rabbit hole, I would say CERN or HARP. Messing around with these frequency machines or these time travel machines, I think could be that first one that caused a ripple effect that we still feel to today. We're still feeling the effects of that today.
I agree.
Mr. Paul, how do you explain millions of people remembering the exact same false details? Is it mass delusion, or is there an official explanation?
I think there's an official explanation. Corporate propaganda, in my opinion. Media controls millions through that TV. That TV is super powerful.
Do you think that are you suggesting? So in the I think in the 50s, when everybody was glued to the radio.
Oh yeah. Okay.
This guy did a prank where he pranked all the listeners of the radio that they were being invaded by aliens. And I think there were even people who committed suicide.
Damn.
Because and I think it was a big deal. Yeah, it was a big deal because the guy ended up causing a lot of disruption. But is that where you're getting at?
Yeah. Do you point in case? Do you remember when the guy? Remember when those group of guys saw a big star and they thought it was a UFO and they took like mercury and they all killed themselves
in San Diego?
Yeah. Do you remember that? So that'd be the same thing. Do you remember that?
It was in San Diego.
The leader, he had led a group of people, and he saw a big old whatever in the sky, and they took something, and they all passed away. What was it, like 4 or 5 of them?
They were all in the bed or something like that.
Yeah. So that would go with what the radio thing. So yeah, I just think I think goes back to what we were talking about from the beginning of our show. Crisis actors. You can have crisis actors on a radio station. Moten.
Big Todd has pop culture like The Matrix or the movie Inception prepared us to accept the Mandela effect more easily by normalizing the idea of false realities?
Yes, I believe so. Those movies are really deep, and I don't think that people were actually prepared for those movies when they were conceptualized, by the director. I think she's a black woman, if I'm not mistaken, or the creator of the movie.
Yeah.
To have that much of a deep thought is pretty incredible. And so I don't think that people were actually ready for it. But now that they have seen so many things have materialized from that movie in the way that people think, in the thought process of one versus the other, of the way that we look at information, the way that we intake the information, and the way that we, like how we believe in the information, pretty much. And so that shows you the blue pill, the red pill. Those movies are actually true.
And I do think they're planting seeds. A lot of these movies are ahead of our time. We're not. They're trying to control our minds. The movie The Creator. Remember seeing the robots in the SoFi Stadium sitting next to regular people, and you couldn't tell if they were real or fake. They were really fake people. I don't know if you guys saw
Yeah,
the
when
movie.
the eyes were kind of like moving all.
They look like humans.
Yeah.
They had all the robotics right here on the side. They were walking, talking. So I do think, yeah.
All
What
right.
about you, Rube?
I think the movies do major preparation for the false reality, for the Truman Show that we live.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I totally believe that movies are a huge psychological preparer for our reality, which is not even a reality, which sucks.
Yeah. My movie, I think the craziest movie I ever saw was probably Avatar. That shit had me tripping.
Avatar?
Yeah, bro. Avatar I saw that
You
shit.
ever seen it?
I saw that shit in 3D and in regular. I was like, bro, this is crazy.
It's legit.
Yeah.
All right. Given the shifting timelines, the explanation that some people try to give, do you think that we're constantly shifting timelines, but only notice it when something big or obvious, like a logo or a quote, changes?
Not very many people have emotional intelligence. So the people that do have emotional intelligence are shifting with the times, and the people that are just stuck in their box are stuck in their box. I don't know if that answers your question, but I don't think everybody's shifting with the times. I think there's very few people shifting with the times. And I think there's people that are being forced to shift with the times, depending on where they're at in life. And they may not know that they're being shifted. Remember COVID? People were working in the office. Now they're okay with working at home on the laptop. That was a shift. They got forced into that within a couple of months. So those people are growing, and those other people that are still at UPS, packing up boxes are still doing that. So they haven't grown. They've grown. Obviously, they're still at their job, but they haven't switched into a different reality, working from home, so to speak.
Okay.
I don't know if that nails it, but
Big Todd, is there a connection between Mandela effect and deja vu? Are both signs that reality isn't as solid as we think?
Absolutely. Because if you think back right now, as we played that game earlier, I'm sitting there thinking of different names of companies, Zodies. Was it with a Y or was it with an IES? Was it Montgomery Wards or was it Montgomery Ward?
Damn.
We don't know, is gin and juice with the and sign or
is it with an N?
So we don't know, but shout out to gin and juice.
Shout out.
Okay.
And Happy Dad. Death Row, Snoop Dogg.
Ruben's a happy dad.
I'm a happy dad.
I'm a happy dad.
Is there a connection between the Mandela effect and deja vu?
Yeah, what's your take, Rube?
Are they both signs that reality isn't as solid as we think? Yeah, I would say so. I think that the Mandela effect, for me, I like both explanations. I like the explanation of the one that's just far-fetched, that we're on timelines, we're on different timelines. Quantum physics plays a role in all this. Technical machines that are beyond us cause these things. Those are the far-fetched answers. And then I also like the simple answer, which is it's misremembering, But I also am open to the idea that practical jokes, like if let's say that we're old business owners, maybe like of a Zodies or a Montgomery Ward, stuff that's not in business anymore, but we in our heyday, we had our spot.
Yeah.
and then we knew of a logo or we knew of a business name that we had passed on it. We're like, nah, we don't. When they brought it to us to choose, hey, do you like this name or you like this name or this name? We're like, let's go with that one. And the other two got put into like a drawer.
Yeah.
And then 30 years later, we're cleaning out that room and then we're like, hey man, remember we almost called it this.
Nostalgia.
We almost called it this right here. And then all of a sudden now someone takes a picture of it. It gets out.
Yeah, it leaks.
People are now saying, it wasn't Montgomery Ward's, it was Montgomery Ward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the Mandela effect.
I am somebody who's always believing you can explain things away or you can explain things in general, either away or for stay. But the idea that you can explain something has never been far-fetched for me. You can explain stuff.
But why is that hold true with fashion? Fashion trends come back every 10 years. Everybody's in baggy ass clothes again.
Bell bottoms now.
Bell bottoms, huge ass flares. Shit, we might even go back to cross colors and FUBU.
That could be blamed on humans not being as creative and being bored, being boring, or being
That
too
simple.
Yeah, that too.
Just cheating and going on Google. What did the people look like 20 years ago? Oh, this is it. This is it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true though.
Yeah. All right. Is it possible that media corporations or governments have actually changed logos, phrases, and facts without telling the public? Yeah, see, I think that there's a possibility in that.
Absolutely.
That they just didn't say anything.
Geico.
Yeah.
Geico?
Yeah.
I got one for you guys. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that guy.
He went from Verizon to Sprint.
Yeah. But Geico, do you know what that stands for?
No.
You know what Geico stands for?
No, what does it stand for?
Geico. Government Employee Insurance Company.
Damn.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
That's what Geico stands for.
And they got your friendly little lizard.
Yep.
Reptilian.
All right. Last question.
What?
Is it dangerous to dismiss the Mandela effect as faulty memory? Or could we be ignoring something deeper?
I'm going first, or you want to go first? I think we're ignoring something deeper. Yeah. What that deeper is, I don't know.
I think we're ignoring something deeper because there's so many things that have played an effect on our mind slipping from the knowledge that should have been retained. It could be food. It could be the air we breathe. It could be the water we're drinking. It could be the environment. It could be the vibrations that we affiliate ourselves with on a daily basis. There's so many different factors. Now that I'm looking back, and as we're talking about this Mandela effect, I mean, there's so many things. I feel kind of like slightly dumb that I didn't know these things. And we go to the store every single day to look at these brands.
See the same thing.
Yo,
what was that game they used to play when they used to go grocery shopping and pull shit off the shelves?
And I thought I was great.
And if you pull those symbols and those things, you get it for free. But if you don't pull the right ones, you got to put it back on the shelves.
Oh yeah,
there was a game that we used to watch,
and my mom used to be like, "Oh, go get the meat, go get the meat." Oh, she's dumb.
Was that Jeopardy?
Dumb. I forgot which one, but my mom used to be pissed off.
Here's a question about Karate Kid. What do you guys remember about the headband, the bandana across his head? What color was it?
It was from Japan.
It was white and red.
Okay, what do you think?
It's white and black.
Yeah, it's white and black, but I remember white and red.
Damn.
I remember white and red.
Wait, white and black?
Yeah. It's white and black.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
See.
But
let's you remember the red, and I remember the red.
Wasn't there a Karate Kid 1 and 2?
No, that was the other dude. The dude that was fighting against was the red, right?
I don't even know.
Oh, Kai or whatever. Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai was the red.
Here's a story that comes to mind about this. Do you remember when Miyagi and him are talking about the headband that he explains to him that this is where a tree and a root comes together, and it's something like that. He ends up doing like his hands like this, and because even even that logo, just I remember it being like a star tree or something like that. Or,
I remember like a red circle with like,
Could
yeah,
that be
like a
Karate Kid?
sun.
yeah.
Could that be 2?
I thought
I don't know. They
it
had about
might be
3 of
2,
them.
bro. It might be 2.
Let me see.
I ain't gonna argue with the Karate Kid champs over here.
I wish I was. I got to yellow belt and quit. My mom was like,
Ki! Sit your motherfucking ass up.
Mom said, we got to get out of Red Dragon. This belt costs too much money. You can't come back.
Oh, you was at Red Dragon too? Huh?
Yeah.
You got the yellow belt. That shit's like 155 belt.
Like $250 for the belt.
Yeah, you
my
know,
mom
what?
took me up out of there. She said, son, I can't pay for that belt. You can't do
Like,
karate
come
no more.
on.
I had a bow. I was working my way up to nunchucks.
Mom said, you don't need karate. You could just act crazy.
Shout out to Red Dragon.
My mom used to say, you don't know karate. You need to just act crazy on it.
Yeah, that's wild. That's crazy.
All right, guys, that's our show for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, false flags, crisis actors, Mandela effect. Let us know in the comments what you guys think.